Hello there. My name is Ian Krug. Some of you may know me as Reign of Darkness and Light. That is what I go by for my music, for literature, and other creative devices. I just go by Ian. This quarantine stuff has really put a damper on a lot of elements out there in the world, and I kind of just wanted to start going through my music. A lot of what I do is abstract. Some people don't like it, some people love it. It's strange, to say the least. It's matured over the years, but when I started off, it was strange. I figured I would start this podcast or audio blog or whatever you want to call it and just kind of talk about my music. Some of you might be familiar with it, some of you might not. Maybe this would be a good introduction into my music. So before I dive in to the actual music and the albums themselves, I'm going to talk about how I started. This goes back all the way to my early childhood. I grew up in a family of musicians. My father has been playing music his entire life, and thus he implemented music to everybody, to all my siblings. He played at church, he played in some bands, and he played a lot of different instruments. The very first instrument I ever picked up was the drums, because that is what he played in church. He also played piano, which became my second instrument of choice. I wish I would have stuck with piano a little bit more, as music theory is not my forte by any means. Bass guitar eventually became the primary instrument of my choice. I saw Geddy Lee from Rush on a TV in a pawn shop, I believe somewhere in Kansas, and was inspired. I wanted to play that instrument. I was in the 4th grade, and on the way home, my father bought me a small little amp and a little Yamaha 4-string bass guitar. And that's where it started. Even though I had been playing drums and piano many years previous, it wasn't until I played the bass guitar that everything really started to take flight. When I was in middle school, I started playing music with my best friend in the entire world, Scott Russell, and another one of my best friends, Austin Searcy. And we wanted to start a band. We were very inspired by Green Day and Blink-182, MXPX, a lot of those pop punk bands, modern day punk bands. And we started a band in the 8th grade, right before high school, called Jetson Saddle. Jetson Saddle played all throughout high school. We played many shows. We played fundraisers. We played at youth gatherings. We played at our high school for like yearbook signing parties. We did some birthday parties. We had a lot of fun. But as you know, once you're out of high school, life goes on. People move on. And that's essentially what happened to us. Jetson Saddle had a really fun run, and we called it quits because all of us were going off to college, me, Scott, and Austin. And shortly after that, we decided we wanted to do one more show. We wrote some new music, and we did one more Battle of the Bands show in Denver, Colorado. To say the least, it was an epic failure. We had fun. The venue was not great. It was not well put together, and they didn't treat us very well. But we did have fun. But we decided, that was the nail in the coffin. It was time to move on. We all continued college. As I was getting ready for my second year of college, I got a call from a friend by the name of Andrew, who was in a band called Rough Draft at the time, and he needed a bass player. Now, we had opened up for Rough Draft on many occasions throughout high school, so we had become really good friends with them. He called me and said he needed a bass player and that I would get paid to play and tour the United States. How could I refuse? I said yes. And so we did that for a couple years. We went through a name change. We added some new members. We went through multiple drummers in the band. We played for thousands of people. We opened up for some big bands. We played in so many states, so many. I believe it was in the 30s how many states we had played for. I could be wrong on that number, but we played for a lot. And it was fun. It was some Christian pop rock, if you will. And we had a good time. But again, life goes on. Things happen. People get girlfriends, people get married, people have kids. And we called it quits. Now, the former members of Jets and Saddle and Rough Draft, we all still hang out to this day. We still jam together. We still play at churches when we can. We still create. We still create music. But I needed an outlook. I needed something else. And thus the Reign of Darkness and Light was born. Now, Reign of Darkness and Light had actually started in 2008 when I was a freshman in college at Front Range Community College in Fort Collins, Colorado. It was about September or October when I wrote my first song. It was entitled The Looker's Suicide, or The Modern Dilemma. Now, this is before I joined Rough Draft, but while I was not in Jets and Saddle. And I was just kind of trying to find a creative outlook. I had a Macintosh and I had a GarageBand. I had a bunch of instruments, so I was just ready to create. So one day, I was all ready to go to school and just waiting at home by myself, getting ready to leave. I had about 45 minutes before I had to leave for school. And my dad has a really nice piano in the living room. And I just sat down on it and started writing a melody. I was kind of making it up as I went. And by the end of it, I ended up really liking it. So I grabbed my MacBook, I set it up near the piano, and recorded what I just came up with. Now, I didn't have any professional mics or anything. I just recorded it straight through the microphone in the computer, which if anyone's ever done that, that is probably not the best way to do it. But it worked, and it started something. So by the time I had to leave for school, this melody was just going through my head. And I was listening, and I had this recording on my computer, but I couldn't do much with it because I had to go to school. When I got home that night, that's when I started editing it. Started adding reverb and delay and all that fun stuff. The next day, I went to school. I was just thinking about it all day. What other instruments could I add? What other sounds could I add to it? When I got back, I was thinking of, how do I add drums? Now, my dad has a really nice drum set, but it's very loud, and I kind of wanted to create my own drums. So I just started hitting my table and other assorted objects and realized it would be awesome to have everything in the song, in this first song I created, everything be a sound I created by myself utilizing household objects. I did this for a few hours throughout the night, and thus the first song was completed. I then put that one song on a CD to listen to it for the following few weeks. Then appeared the Reign of Darkness and Light. So, if you listen to any of my music, you will probably find yourself asking, what kind of music is this? Why is it so random? Why is it not in any order? Why does this music seem like it doesn't really even make sense? Well, I'm kind of a person of chaos. Almost any of my friends could tell you that. My wife could tell you that. My coworkers could tell you that. Everything I do or say or listen to or write or think is a little spontaneous and random. That's just how I am. So it's highly reflective in my music, especially my earlier music. I literally will start with one melody in a song, and by the end of the song, it'll be something completely different from how it started. So, I guess a lot of this comes down to the fact that I am a strong believer in the fact that music doesn't need to be nice and orderly to be beautiful or enjoyable to listen to. Yeah, it's a little harder to listen to because at first glance it just seems completely off the wall, but I think that's what makes it fun. You hear it in a lot of progressive music these days. I believe, as well as many other musicians believe, that music is all about emotion. And I try to bring out all my emotions in that current setting out in my music. I'll write songs when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm indifferent. It's a very detailed process. I won't write songs just to write songs. I'll write songs because of a very specific emotion I am feeling, and it is perceived through the randomness of my music. Some songs will even start off happy. 10 minutes later in, the same song, they'll sound extremely eerie or sad. And that's because my mood would change over the course of me writing this song. Basically, the music of Reign of Darkness and Light is like the blueprint of my mind and the way that I think. So again, you might ask yourself, what kind of music is it? Well, it's a little of everything. Almost everything is slower and ambient sounding. Some songs have very apparent electronic elements to them, while others are very acoustic sounding. Either way, it's all music that I came up with the exception, every once in a while I'll throw in a few samples, but it's not very common. As I progressed throughout the years, my music became more orchestral. I started realizing that is the setting I'm going for. Almost like a film score. When I saw the movie Inception by Christopher Nolan, whatever year that was that came out, I don't know off the top of my head, that score changed me. That score changed my life. That changed how I write. It changed what inspired me to write. Hans Zimmer is absolutely, without a doubt, my biggest inspiration for the current music that I write. I have a lot of musical influences, but the music of Hans Zimmer just captivates me. So, all in all, I guess if you're listening to Reign of Darkness and Light, you're like listening to my emotions go through my brain in real time and coming out in music form. If a song sounds eerie, chances are I wasn't having a good day. If it sounds happy, chances are something great happened that day. All you can really do is listen to it for yourself and make your own judgment. But do be warned, it's not for everyone. Some people would call it just mumbled sound in a very scattered matter, while others would call it beautiful, mysterious, maybe even intelligent. And maybe I'm just tooting my own horn there. But if you do decide to listen to my music, I want you to do this. Take a deep breath, play one of my songs, doesn't matter which one. Close your eyes, and just let the song take you on a journey. It's all about the experience of the reign of darkness and light. Okay, so that's my intro into this Audible blog, whatever you want to call it. It's this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to make. I think it's going to be really fun to kind of go through my albums, especially some that I really, I haven't gone through in a long time. One of the biggest questions I get from people is, where did you come up with the name Reign of Darkness and Light? What does it mean? So, when you're listening to my music, on any album, like I said before, you'll see that the songs vary in nature and mood and setting. Some are dark, where the plot of the song might be someone's death, or a tragic incident, or the end of the world, or just the idea of darkness. And then you have some songs that are very light sounding, or triumphant, rejoiceful. Something grand has happened. Victory is imminent. The battle is won. Those sorts of things. So this whole idea is that there's a constant reigning of darkness and light throughout my music. Some albums have more of a reign of darkness. Some albums have more of a reign of light. It's almost like a yin and yang approach to an album. And that's kind of where I came up with the name. Eventually, the name would get shortened out to just Road Owl. It was a lot easier to say than Reign of Darkness and Light all the time. So people would kind of shorthand it just to Road Owl. Hey, have you ever listened to Road Owl? What do you think about Road Owl's music? If you go on iTunes or Spotify, you'll find me under Reign of Darkness and Light. But you will see songs that have the name Road Owl implemented into them. So please enjoy this journey with me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm going to try to go through every album that I have. There's a lot of albums. Some of them I just are unfinished. I might still go through them because some of the songs have been released out there. Some of them are ideas. And then eventually, we will get to the main meat and potatoes of what I've been working on for almost the last 8 years. I've been working on albums every year. I'm constantly trying to work on music. But there's one special project that I've been really, really focusing on for the last 8 years. And it's just titled right now, The Road Owl Project. I used to call it the Classified Project because I didn't want to give away too many details. Now it's kind of coming into fruition, and I'm really excited to share it with you all. And soon, Act 1 will be completed and released. But before Act 1 is completed and released, I will do a little tidbit of information on what it is, the whole scope of the project. I don't want to give away spoilers, but I will give away as much as I can. And I think when you guys listen to that and hear what I've been working on, hopefully you'll be as excited as I am for it to be released. Thank you guys for listening. I'm really excited to do this. I think, now that I'm really thinking about it, I think the next episode that I do will actually be me talking about the Road Owl Project. After that, we will start from the beginning with the very first album I ever released, Eerie for the Modern Civilization. Thank you guys.